Hey, welcome back to No Hype Beer Reviews. Unless it's your first time, then welcome. Please consider subscribing. If you do, hit the notification bell, get all the updates. This is every day's video, so it's Saturday, and Saturdays I do Cellar Saturday where I drink something out of my cellar. I've been trying to prioritize adjuncted beers, and this one definitely fits the bill. So this one, okay, so it's Epic's Big Bad Baptist Imperial Stout with Cocoa Nibs, which I'm not worried about those going sideways. Like, I think those last pretty well. And coffee. Coffee is where it can go sideways, and aged in whiskey barrels. So on the side, it says release number 61, so it doesn't tell you the date. So I looked it up. It was brewed February of 2015, released in October 2015. So we're at about 9 years, like over 9 years since it was brewed, not quite 9 years before it was released. So I'm just going to call it 9 years. 12.1% ABV. And that's all that's worth reading. I am the one who wax sealed this, if anyone was wondering. 2015 was a big year for me when I started really aging beer. No, it was before 2015, but that was a big year for me. That was the Bourbon County infection year. I was definitely starting to cellar beer. Anyway, tell you what, guys. 9 years in the bottle, that much head. Like, this is definitely a beer that, at least in terms of that, has not gone sideways. It's not flat, nothing like that. It's a pretty dark beer. It's not quite motor oil, but it's, I'd say, more black than brown. A little bit of brown in there, though. The head is about 3/4 of a finger, relatively compact except on top. Dark mocha color. Looks like a big stout. Let's get to the aroma. Chocolate, roastiness. It's about, at least so far in the aroma, I'm going to say it's half coffee, half that bell pepper thing that coffee can easily turn into. I was expecting this to be 100% bell pepper at this point, 9 years. So the fact that there's any coffee is impressive to me. The fact that it seems to be half, if not even a little bit more than half. And I'm gonna keep with half. Getting some whiskey, a little bit of vanilla and oakiness too. Except that I thought there was going to be more bell pepper. It basically smells exactly how I thought it was going to smell. Slight nuttiness. Didn't anticipate that. Yeah, it smells good. I'm shocked so far with the aroma. Really excited to see about the taste. And yeah, I mean, the big thing is going to be what's the coffee doing? Because I think everything else is going to be totally fine. But let's find out. Cheers. Wow. I don't taste any bell pepper, and that's kind of blowing my mind right now. I'm going to keep looking for it. And I'm going to tell you what I am tasting. A relatively dry stout. It's got this, from the coffee and probably the base beer too, it has that roasty dryness, some alcohol dryness, although you don't taste a lot of alcohol, but a little bit. Appropriate for the style, I'll put it that way. The oak, I taste, and it's drying it out. So it's a relatively dry beer. Dark chocolate, for sure, makes sense with the addition of the cacao nibs. And again, I don't like the coffee. I don't know how much the base is adding roastiness versus the coffee. I don't know how much the base beer is adding chocolate versus the cacao nibs. But yeah, definitely a dark chocolate presence, like very high cacao count, very high. Little bit of that whiskey. If I was doing this blind, I would have said bourbon specifically, but whiskey barrel aging. So some of the whiskey comes through, not a ton. A little bit of vanilla. A little bit of that nuttiness. So it follows the aroma, except for two immediate things. I'm not tasting any bell pepper, and there's a nice caramel, but not too sweet caramel swirl kind of going on through there. So it's at no point pastry level at all, despite having some dessert sounding elements. It's very elevated. Makes me think of, living in the United States of America, our desserts are very sweet typically, right? So I've been fortunate enough to travel to some other countries and get desserts That's one of the first things you notice as a U.S. person is like, oh, this isn't that sweet compared to what I'm used to for something that's called dessert. That's kind of like this. Like, I'm getting those dessert flavors, but man, that does not have the sweetness I typically associate with these flavors. The faintest bell pepper. Unlike the aroma, this is a good, I don't think I'm exaggerating, everyone, 95% coffee, 5% bell pepper. Like, I would have bet money, and I'm glad I didn't, before I started tasting this, that it was going to be mostly, if not all, bell pepper, no coffee. I don't know if it's just the beer itself. I don't know if it's because I waxed it. That's so much coffee. I've had coffee stouts 6 months later that were basically bell pepper. You know, so this is pretty mind-blowing. It's kind of a mind effer, actually. Oh, also, this is drinking great. Like, if anyone from the brewery is watching, if anyone who's had this beer before or any versions of this beer, dry roasty stout with all the adjuncts totally present, working well, adding their own things, working well with the base beer. I really thought I was going to go into this and it was going to be a completely different review of, you know, it's not very good or it's hard to get over the bell pepper thing or whatever, past its peak. This is blowing my mind. This is drinking as good as I remember this beer ever drinking. 9 years and it's got coffee in it. Mind blown. Repeating myself. That's how I know it's time to wrap this up. If you guys had this beer before, what are your thoughts on this beer, aging coffee beers? Have you, like me, within 6 months had coffee stouts that are like, whoa, this has gone sideways? And are you shocked that after 9 years, that's how little bell pepper I'm getting? Anything, everything, comment section below. Let's get a conversation going. Once you're done doing that, make sure you check me out on Instagram and Untapped. It's No Hype Beer Reviews of both those places. So please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, imbibe. Cheers, everyone.